Hello, we're here at Lyon Air Museum. We want to share the Summer of Porsche exhibit with you. So we're going to be walking around among the Porsches down here on the floor. But just a little quick thing about Lyon Air Museum. We're in our 11th year now. We were founded by General William Lyon. And General Lyon was a pilot flying missions during World War II in Korea, and founded this museum back in 2009. So it's a wonderful place here located on the west side of John Wayne Airport. Okay, so every summer, Lyon Air Museum picks a theme for a car exhibit, and this year we've done Porsche, so Summer of Porsche. We're going to start here with the tractor, and a lot of people don't realize that Porsche actually made tractors. So starting really before World War I, Ferdinand Porsche had designed some tractors, and by the time World War II had ended, they had partnered with the German firm Allgaier, and by 1954 they had made 220 of these P312 tractors. And you'll look at it, it's streamlined, and the streamlining isn't for speed, even though it does look like it could be, but it's really, these things were built for the Brazilian coffee plantation fields, and the streamlining helped them go in between the plants without damaging the plants. So thus the streamlined tractor. It's powered by a two-cylinder 1800 cc gasoline engine. It puts out about 30 horsepower. And it is gasoline powered, not diesel powered, and they used the gasoline because it was just a little cleaner and didn't leave all the soot on the coffee plants. About less than 25 of these, of the 220 that were made, remain in the world today. And then by about 1963, Porsche was out of the tractor business, and they had built about 160,000 tractors of all different types. This one belongs to Jeff and Terry Zwart, part of their collection. This 1956 Porsche 550A, it's a 1500 RS. Some people will say Spyder, some won't if they're called 1500 RS, but this thing is a really rare car. It's had a pretty interesting racing career, starting with back in 1956, first raced at Nürburgring, and subsequent races at Sebring and Riverside and Palm Springs and the Carrera Panamericana. Interesting drivers drove this car. John von Neumann, Jack McAfee, Hans Hermann, Richard von Frankenberg. These are all famous drivers of the period. And one particular driver that's been popular lately because of the Ford v Ferrari movie is Ken Miles. And Ken Miles once raced this at Riverside in 1956. A lot of people know these cars, the Spyders, maybe made famous in pop culture by James Dean. James Dean, at age 24, was driving one of these up to Salinas, and in the Paso Robles area was involved in a traffic accident that took his life at age 24. This one belongs to the Jack Crow collection. Okay, and what we're looking at here, 1957 Porsche 356A Speedster. This one still currently races quite successfully here around the western United States. Bill H. Lyon has been its driver here lately, and first places, done really well, a lot of podium finishes as well. It's powered by a 1720 cc, four-cylinder engine, probably putting out about 140 horsepower. Mentioning the engine here, we'll just take a quick look. See this 1720 cc four-cylinder engine there, all race prepped. This one is maintained, you probably saw the sticker there, by Honest Engine here in Costa Mesa. They do a great job with the Porsche preps. A little bit of background on this car. Back in 1965, there was a factory-trained Porsche mechanic named Hubert Kinsler, and he did a lot of racing back then as well, and so he configured the car. He got it and did some minor modifications to it, and then campaigned it mostly in the Southeast at the time, and quite successfully back in the 60s. Okay, who knew that Porsche made Indy cars? So starting in the mid-70s, Porsche had an interest in getting into open wheel racing, IndyCar in particular, but it really wasn't until about 1987 that they made that leap, and they started first race at Laguna Seca, and it was with Al Unser Sr. driving, and it was a Porsche engine and Porsche chassis at the time. Next year, they decided that they wanted to do something different with the chassis, and they even they were looking around for different people to help them with that. And they even went to All-American Racers, Dan Gurney, and they ultimately ended up with the UK-based March Engineering, and that's what you see here. This is March Porsche. It's a 1988 88C, and this is chassis number 1. So it is powered by the same engine they started with, the Porsche 2708 engine. That thing's it's a V8, 750 horsepower. It's turbocharged, 2.65 liter. So with that, they debuted the car, did some testing with this car at Phoenix. That was with Teo Fabi. This particular car only raced competitively 3 times. That was at the Miller High Life 200 in Milwaukee, the Budweiser Grand Prix of Cleveland, and the Quaker State 500 at Pocono. It also did some practicing that same year, May of 1988, at Indy, but did not compete at Indy. This is the only fully complete March Porsche 88C in existence, and it belongs to Kerry Morse and Lizette Bond. The holy grail of 911 Porsches is the 911R. This is a 1967 911R. This is number 13 of about 23 of these that were built. And the thing that made these so special is that they were incredibly lightweight. And the idea was to shave about 500 pounds off of the basic 911, and that's what they accomplished with the 911R. So you'll see here that the wings or the front fenders, those are fiberglass. The hood is fiberglass, fuel tank up front, fed through the hood. The hood fiberglass, and the framework on that is balsa wood, so it's just ultra light. And then the cockpit is completely gutted. Just requirements, they had to have 2 seats, but you'll see the second seat in there is really not something you'd want to have a passenger sit in. The doors, the deck lid, those are also fiberglass. All the glass in the car except for the windshield is plexiglass, so it's very light. And then if we work our way back to the engine here, about 2 liter, 210 horsepower, flat 6. And then coming around, if we can come around the other side, we can see, check out these doors. You can see how light these doors are. The handles are even plastic. This is all plastic. You can see it's all real lightweight. There's nothing in here. The plexiglass side window is done by a leather strap. Even the steering wheel is lightweight. It's a real flexi flyer steering wheel, so it's all very, very lightweight vehicle, and that's what made it so successful. The Porsche 912. So when the 912 came out, it was kind of the more economical solution to the 911. And a lot of them were turned into race cars like this one was, but kind of an interesting little tidbit of information that in 1966, December of 66, Porsche built their 100,000th car, which was a 67 912. It was a Targa version, not a coupe like this one, but just an interesting tidbit. It went on to law enforcement, and it would patrol the Autobahn, that particular car. This car was modified with a 1720cc flat 4 engine, again about 140 horsepower. and still vintage races to this day. Okay, this is a 1992 Porsche 911 Carrera Cup car. Back in '92, Porsche had introduced two of the lightweight Carrera models. The first one was called the RS America, and it was a kind of a lower cost, still high performance alternative to the standard Carrera 2. A total of those, there was about 700 of those made. I think it was 701. But the second lightweight Carrera, known as the Cup car, and that's what we have here today, they only made 45 of these, and the idea of these were to, they were built to be part of a racing series that really never materialized. So they ended up reconverting these to street legal cars and just quietly offered them to the public. But they're rare, at only 45 of them. They're very much a high performance car, Andile engine, about 270 pounds lighter than would be, because they changed out wheels. They went with magnesium wheels. Just everything they could do went through shocks, transmission, brakes, steering, engine mounts, all that kind of performance mods, and then upgraded to a 3.6 higher torque engine, 280 horsepower. And this one was displayed by Ken Roth, the Ken Roth collection. Okay, what we have here is the Kremer Samson 3.0 Porsche. It's an RSR. It's got a really interesting racing history. In 1973, this car was part of Kremer's team. They did 3 of these RSRs, and it went to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and just unbelievably, it achieved an 8th place overall. And then, of course, winning its GT class. 1974, they went back with this same car, and they just brought it up to the latest factory 3.0 RSR specifications. It was very successful that year in '74. Finished 2nd place overall at Monza. Raced about 23 other races. Throughout the, I guess that was the European GT season, racked up 1st place at Imola and Nürburgring. Then it went on to the 79-80 season, took 2nd place in the IMSA GTO Championship, 3rd place in the FIA World Challenge for endurance drivers. Then found its way to South America, then came back and was configured back to its 1974 spec. And this one's owned by Steve and Danielle Schmidt from Honest Engine. And right next door, the 1986 Porsche 962C. This is known as the Jägermeister Porsche. Very successful car. This one's a twin turbocharged 2.8 flat 6-cylinder engine. It's about 700 horsepower at 8,200 RPM. This was campaigned by the Swiss racing team Brunn Motorsport, 1986, 1989, and was the pole sitter at the 1,000 kilometers of Spa, and then went on to win that race. And it also helped Brunn end up with the FIA Team Championship in 1986. This one's a Tom Hacker collection car. Absolutely stunning. What's better than one Porsche Carrera? How about 2 Porsche Carreras? So you're looking at the 1963 Porsche Carrera 2 here. This coupe is configured as a race car, as you can see. The thing that makes this so special, these are very rare, they've got the 4-cam engines into them. This one had a kind of interesting past. It was originally bought by a gentleman who was an aerospace engineer, and back in the 60s he campaigned this car pretty heavily on the racing circuit in the western United States. And at some point he tinkered on it and had the engine apart on it, and the car ended up sitting under a tarp in his front yard for about 40 years, as the rumor goes. And then finally it was recovered, was restored with the idea of running it at the 2006 Le Mans Classic, which it did. And we'll take a look at the engine here. Beautiful work of art here. Open these guys. See in there. It's another one that's race prep by Honest Engine. And the second Porsche Carrera, 1959 1600 Carrera GS Deluxe, probably one of the most beautiful cars around. It's another a 4-cam engine car. Very rare. There's 49 of these 4-cam engine Porsches built in 1959. This one belongs to Dale and Ken Roth. Behind this beautiful Carrera here, the Douglas A26 Invader. This particular airplane has the biggest engines in the Lyon Air Museum collection. These are 2,000 horsepower, 2,800 cubic inch engines, 18-cylinder radial engines. This airplane was type airplane flown in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam air wars. A very versatile airframe used for low-level attack and bombing, carried guns and bombs. This particular one, as Feeding Frenzy, is configured and painted up as it would have been as a night attack aircraft during the Korean Air War. This little beautiful 1956 Porsche 356A 1600S Speedster is what we might call an outlaw car. About the first 15 years of its life, it was a race car. Raced around on the circuit all around the country. And then at some point, it went to Porsche specialist Gary Kempton. He did the restoration on it. I affectionately call this Tiffany because it's kind of the Tiffany's colors. Has the option glass bar hardtop on it, which was very rare these days, but an option at the time. Also has almost as rare the Rudge knockoff wheels, Carrera type bumpers, and the 75 horsepower engines tweaked up to about 100 horsepower. Contrasting this little Outlaw 356 is this World War II B-25 Mitchell bomber, medium bomber, probably made famous, this type of aircraft, by the Doolittle raid in April of 1942, when 16 of these that were never designed to fly off aircraft carriers but were put aboard the USS Hornet and launched against Tokyo to bring the fight to the Japanese mainland. The rare Porsche-Abarth 356B Carrera GTL, built in 1960. There's only 21 of these, all hand-formed aluminum. If you look at that profile there, and you think of the regular 356 Coupe, this thing is quite reduced in size. This thing is 5 inches lower at the top, 4.7 inches more narrow, and has an impressive 16% less frontal area than a regular 356 Coupe. This particular one is chassis number 1004 of the 21 built. First raced in Paris in 1960, and it still continues to race around the world in vintage motor racing meets. Take a look at the engine here. A little interesting adjustable ram air duct right here, ground adjustable. That's an aviation term. I guess it's they're all adjusted on the ground if it's a car. The 2004 Porsche Carrera GT, quite the contrast. Mid-mounted 5.7 liter V10 engine, 603 horsepower at 8,000 RPM, top speed of 205 miles an hour. Incredibly lightweight, high strength carbon fiber composite panels. Seats are made out of Kevlar. They made about 1,270 of these Carrera GTs. And lastly, the 1966 Porsche 906 Carrera 6, brought to us by Jeff and Terry Zwart. First fiberglass bodied tube frame race car produced by Porsche. It was powered by a 2-liter twin plug 6-cylinder engine, approximately 210 horsepower, but its weight was only 1,400 pounds. One of these 906s had an overall victory at Targa Florio in Sicily in heavy rain and fog that year. That was in 1966. Ken Miles drove one of these in Las Vegas and Laguna Seca to victories in 2-liter class. This particular 906 spent most of its life in the European Hill Climb Championship. Did a lot of road racing over in Germany, and is still campaigned at vintage racings around the world. Just over 50 of these 906s were produced. But wait, there's one more Porsche to show, and that is the late 1960s designed Porsche 212 Ski Bob. Imagine racing down the slopes on this little unit. Interestingly, this thing would fold up and fit perfectly in the back of a 911 Porsche. Well, and it's been an absolute pleasure showing you around Lyon Air Museum today and the Summer of Porsche exhibit. A little sneak peek here. Hopefully you'll all be able to make it out and see the Porsches before they leave. Right behind us here, just wanted to point out our fuddy-duddy, our Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress. Really incredible airplane, daylight bomber of World War II, powered by 4 R1820 radial engines, which is about well, 1,820 cubic inches each. Okay, if you'd like to come visit Lyon Air Museum, whether it's to see the Porsche exhibit or some of these great World War II airplanes we have in here, we're open 7 days a week. We're located at John Wayne Airport, 10 to 4 daily. Of course, with the COVID situation, call ahead for hours, and we may or may not be open. And we look forward to seeing you here at Lyon Air Museum.